Last set of examples, we are going to use a given graph to sketch a new graph. So starting in example 7, we are given the graph of f of x right here, and we want to graph y is equal to f of 4x. But what we have to be able to identify is what is that 4 doing as a transformation. So looking from the original equation to this equation, what changed is that we replaced x with 4x. So we are replacing x with 4x, and it's worth noting that the absolute value of 4 is greater than 1. The table tells us that as a transformation, that is a horizontal compression. So if that is a horizontal compression, replacing x with 4x, then we need to be dividing our x values by 4 to get new points that are on the graph. So for example, here was a point -3, -1. We will now have the point -3 over 4, -1 on our new graph, which will be somewhere about right there. Here is the point -1, 1. We will now have the point -1/4, 1 on our new graph, because we're taking all of these points and we are dividing our x coordinates by 4. This point down here looks like it was the point 4, -3. Divide the x coordinate by 4, it will now be the point 1, -3, which is right there. And then the last point I see on here is the point 6, 3. I'm going to divide the x coordinate by 4, so I'll have 6 over 4, 3, and I'll simplify the 6 over 4 by dividing both by 2 to leave me with a 3 over 2. So I have the point about 1.5 is up at 3. So now I'm going to connect these points in the same manner they were connected before, and then we'll see what the graph of f of 4x looks like. So these are connected here, these are connected here, and that's connected like that. And because that graph has been horizontally smushed in by a factor of 4. Here in example 8, looking at how this equation changes to this equation, we have multiplied on the outside by -1. Our table tells us that that is a reflection over the x-axis. And to reflect over the x-axis, we need to change the signs of our y values. So in this original graph here, I'm going to talk about what points we see on that original graph. We see 0, 0. I'm going to change the sign of the y value. Well, 0 doesn't have a sign, so we'll still have 0, 0. Here we have the point 1, 1. I'm going to change the sign of the y value, so it will now be 1, -1. So this is 0, 0. There's 1, -1. Here we have the point, looks like 3, 3. Changing the sign of the y value puts us at 3, -3. Flip that point over the x-axis. And then the last point we have labeled here, or with a dot on it, is the point 4, 1. So that will now be at 4, -1. And now I'm going to connect these points the same way that they were connected before. So that's the graph reflected over the x-axis. And then finally in example 9, this equation is changing from here to here because we have not just, we didn't multiply on the outside. This is happening on the inside. So what happened here is we replaced x with -x. And replacing x with -x gives us a reflection over the y-axis. And to reflect the graph over the y-axis, we need to change the signs of our x values. So going through these points here, 0, 0 is still going to be at 0, 0 because 0, 0 does not have a sign. 0 doesn't have a sign. We have the point 1, 1 here, changing the sign of the x value. That's now going to be at -1, 1. This is the point 3, 3. That's now going to be at -3, 3. The y signs don't change, just the signs of the x values. And then here is the point 4, 1. That's now going to be at -4, 1. And now I'm going to connect these points to see the final graph of f of -x.